What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, here with a quick little video that I promised, I believe, in the comments section of my Week 1 CFL episode, which is a quick rundown of how you play CFL Fantasy in 2023. So the CFL has done something this year where they've basically amalgamated all of their games into one central website, and that is right here at gamezone.cfl.ca. Alternatively, you can just go to the CFL website, and along the left-hand side here is a link called Game Zone. You click on that tab, it's going to take you right here to where I am as well. Now, once you've logged into the CFL Game Zone, you can see there's a bunch of different options for you, all in one nice convenient place. You can still make some picks on some preseason futures bets. If you don't know who to root for in the CFL, there is the CFL Team Picker, where you answer some questions on a quiz and it picks a team for you to root for this year. Very cool little game. Also, the CFL Pick'em presented by Old Dutch. You can play the Pick'em game all season long, picking the winners of each game in the CFL schedule. You come down a little lower, eventually you'll be able to vote for your CFL All-Stars right here as well. There's weekly blitz picks, where basically it'll ask you how many sacks will Jagarrett Davis have this week, or how many receiving yards will Kyan Schaefer-Baker have this week. But here's what we're really going to be looking at, and this is CFL Fantasy for 2023. The game is very similar to how it has been in years past. We're going to click here saying create team, and what you're going to see is my team, Bridgewater's Finest, has already been put together here. And there it has gone ahead and imported the team that I have already built. As you can see, kickoff is just a little under 6 hours away. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, just for example's sake here, I'm going to empty out the team that I currently have just to show you this from scratch. So, as you can see, just like last year, you have a weekly budget. This basically runs on a daily fantasy sports construct where you have a budget. Every player costs a particular amount of money. And what you got to do is you have to fill in this team, picking one team defense, one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, as well as a flex. So you pick 7 players with this $70,000 budget. You can see it shows you right there what your average player budget is, and this will change dynamically when with adding players. As you can see, you can arrange it here by projected score, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that, and I'm actually going to arrange it by price. So let's say if I wanted to go bottom of the barrel with team defense, you can see the Edmonton Elks here against Saskatchewan only cost $5,600. So watch what happens to this number up here when I go ahead and click this plus. You're going to notice the price, the average player budget went up because I only spent $5,600, and on average now for the rest of my roster, I could go up to an average of $10.7 thousand. I obviously do not want to go with the Edmonton Elks here. I'm going to go ahead and rearrange this by the most expensive. And once again, look, you can sort by team, you can sort by a price range if you want to, you can pick your particular position here, or you can of course do that on this side as well. And then this is going to be the most useful tool here, I believe. You can either arrange your options by price, by projected score, or by average points. And I believe average points obviously will update as the season goes along. But I think either projected score or price is going to be the most useful thing here. I guess if you keep it on projected score, it'll show you right here for each option what at least the CFL fantasy experts are projecting these teams will score. I went with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, not only because they're not anywhere near the most expensive defense this week. That's the Calgary Stampeders at $12,500. I think they're genuinely probably the best defense still in the CFL, or they're very close, and they're in what you already know. If you watched my week 1 episode, you know that I think this is going to be a low scoring game. So we're actually going to save a little bit of money here by taking the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and by doing that, my average player budget goes from $10,000 to $10.3 because I only spent $8,400 on this position. Now, you're also going to notice that I went with a value play at quarterback as well. So I'm going all the way down here to Nick Arbuckle. He's only going to cost $6,000 against the cap, and they've already indicated that Arbuckle will be the starter for at least the first 2 weeks. Of course, you can change this lineup on a week-to-week basis, but for week 1, Ottawa and Montreal, I think it's going to be a relatively high-scoring game. I don't have a ton of trust in Montreal's defense early on in the season, so we're going to go ahead and grab Nick Arbuckle as my starting quarterback. And this is also a great opportunity to show you one of the other new wrinkles that the CFL fantasy game has added this year, which is captaincies. So with each player, once you fill out your roster, you have the ability to make a player your captain for that week. And what happens when you click that and make a particular player your team's captain, whatever they do this week counts for double points. So let's say Nick Arbuckle puts up 15 points. For my roster, he actually counts for 30. His points count for double. And as you can see, I've filled 2 of my 7 positions so far. Look at my average player budget because I've spent almost no money. So let's go ahead and take a peek at our running backs here. So again, this is everything averaged out, or sorted rather, by projected score. So James Butler, they're projecting to go up over 15 points, but as you can see, he is going to cost quite a bit of money at $13,300. These are all of your options at running back this week. If you really want to take a gamble on somebody, like say a Jeshrin Antwi as one of the depth running backs in Montreal, although he might be number 3 on their depth chart right now. What you're probably going to have to do at running back, and this is something I had to do quite a bit last year, you're probably going to have to spend a lot of your budget on at least one of your running backs. So look, I went with Kadeem Carey. I thought he's the best running back in the league last year. I think he probably has a great chance of doing that again this year. And even though he's against what I think is a really good defense here in BC, I think Kadeem Carey, more often than not, is always going to be worth the money. Now, at the number 2 position here for the running back, you can see my average is still above what it started at $10,500. So even if I have to kind of do that again and spend a little extra money at the running back position, I'm not completely screwed over by doing that. Why don't we go ahead and grab Walter Fletcher there for $10,000. It's still a little bit below what the average is that I can spend. I like Fletcher because he catches a lot more passes on average than William Stanback does, and that Ottawa defense might be suspect here early in the season, so let's go with Walter. We're going to take a peek through to our wide receivers now, and obviously, no surprise, Dalton Schoen, the highest projected score here in week 1 after his insane rookie campaign for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Let's go ahead and show you here. We'll just take a look at all of our options here for the Ottawa REDBLACKS. Justin Hardy is another great option here, and actually, you know what? I think I'm going to call the audible there. They're projecting him to get the most amount of volume in this REDBLACKS pass attack, and he's cheaper than Acklin. He's just about as expensive as Nate Behar. So let's go Justin Hardy as my top wide receiver. He also stacks with my starting quarterback. You can see my average player budget now back up to 11.6 thousand, which is great because we are going to spend up for an elite wide receiver here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab either Geno Lewis, maybe Tim White. Dominique Rhymes is a really good option here. If you watched my show from Tuesday, you know that I think Dominique Rhymes is going to lead the league in receiving. Why don't we just go ahead and grab us Dominique Rhymes there. 13.5 thousand, but he's projected to go above that with his score. Let's go ahead and grab him. So now we have everyone but our flex. So with what we've done, we have $9,700 potentially left to spend at our flex position. So we're going to click that. That's going to bring in all the running backs, all the wide receivers. And as you can see, there's a lot that I can't choose because I don't have that much left in my budget. So let's scroll down. That might be a great option there. He's projected to score high. He's within our budget, but let's take a look at what our other options might be. We're still going down. Duke Williams. That's another really, really interesting option here, simply because he's going to be a big part of that Ticats pass offense. Now, of course, with Bo Levi Mitchell. We're just going to see if there's any other names here that really catch our eye. We could grab Nate Behar here if we wanted to, who we talked about earlier. Quan Bray may be another interesting option, but I think we're going to go ahead and play it the way CFL Fantasy wants us to play it. Why don't we go ahead there and grab Speaker for 7.1 thousand, obviously projected to have quite an impact in this game. Now, before we do anything else, something I always like to do before we're done is I like to, okay, let's say I wasn't going to go with Dominique Rhymes here at wide receiver. Let's take him out and let's move Speaker up to wide receiver. So we're going to do that by coming up here. We're just going to type in Speaker, bang. So let's put him in there. So if we were going to do that, then if we go to our flex options, look at our player budget. 16.1 thousand, enough to literally add anyone in the game that we want to add at our flex spot. The most expensive options, the Dalton Showens, the Geno Lewises, the James Butlers. I do feel really good about Dominique Rhymes here at 13,500. Maybe that changes prior to kickoff tonight. We are going to go ahead and put Dominique Rhymes back in there because I do feel quite good about that. So we have filled our entire lineup, and one thing that you're not able to do this year that you were able to do in years past is leave one of these blank. It was popular to go say no defense. You're not actually allowed to do that this year, because if I take the defense out and I try to save, it doesn't allow me to do it. So you do have to have full lineups every single week. That is a change from prior. So we've spent all but $2,600 of our budget. We did that by obviously going a little bit cheaper on the defense, at least based on what the cost is. We went cheaper on quarterback. We captained him up to get 2 times the points. We filled that in with good role players. And again, like, you know, big hitters, like Hardy's going to be a big hitter. Dominique Rhymes is going to be a big hitter. We go ahead and we save our lineup, and our team has been saved, and we are ready to roll. That is how you play CFL Fantasy in 2023. Obviously, some changes and updates from years past. Any questions about CFL Fantasy, please let me know what those questions are in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer them. But for now, that's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Happy CFL Fantasy. Let's kill it in week 1.